Hello and welcome to another episode of Tecman Talks Dynamics. We're back on the CRM and Power Platform area, and today it's specifically CRM features we're talking. So today I've got John and Kelly with me from the CRM Power Platform team, and the topic for today is overlooked features of CRM. So they've been there a while, I think is the best way to kind of say, or the ability to do it use them has been there for a while, but maybe across our customer base for a number of years now, perhaps we don't see as many of the features being used in earnest or at all. So we kind of just want to talk about a few of them. So feature number 1, knowledge base articles, KBAs. Yes. As we all call them internally. So why are they kind of overlooked? Why underutilized? Obviously I'd probably say we've been CRM users for a long time. I'm kind of 18 odd years at Tecman, and I'd probably say we've only started using KBAs properly in the last kind of 2 to 3 years. So why overlooked? And why now? Why should we be thinking about what they do now?
I think they've always been very useful, but it's always been a challenge for the customers in that...
A lot of overhead.
Yes. There's not a lot we actually have to do as consultants to configure them. You just make sure they're in the navigation and there you go. But it's a lot of overhead for the customers to get the articles written. You had to get them nicely formatted. You had to be able to define some keywords.
Yep.
You also had to be very careful about which ones that you published and made sure that they were what you wanted. But it was very much so if you wanted to search for something, if somebody wrote the keyword that you were after, it would show it. Yeah. And if someone picked a different keyword, it was a very, very plain traditional search of you're searching for a keyword contains, and if you spelt it wrong, if somebody has spelt it wrong as they put it in, your knowledge article didn't appear. So as Kelly said, it was very much an overhead for people to do, to update it, to be able to have... I guess there was some use. It was a bank of knowledge that people could refer to. But it's more in the world of Copilot now that it's really starting to come forward.
And what do you mean in the world of Copilot?
So in the customer service areas in CRM, so that's Hub and Workspace, you've got the Copilot pane down the right-hand side of the window.
Yep.
And when you're in the cases, you can ask a question and you can point the knowledge that question sort of refers to your knowledge base.
Yeah. So
it's actually doing a smart search of that.
So essentially you're using the chat function to say, how can I help or how can I resolve? And it's looking at my articles.
Yeah, it's also no longer just doing the keyword searches. So it's searching the topics, it's searching the descriptions, it's doing the full body search.
So the entire article.
The entire article, yep. So, you can use the description from your case, and it will just do all of this smart matching on your knowledge base and just pull through the articles that you need. And obviously now as well, we're into the world of self-service for people. Yep. More and more people are using portals to self-serve.
Yep.
So when you're logging cases, it's bringing up suggestions for potential knowledge articles that are solving your problem then.
Yep.
But also utilising Copilot and the service functionality, you can also send people a link to the knowledge base article direct on your portal so they can just go and have a look at it and follow those instructions.
Yeah.
And then obviously provide feedback if that doesn't provide the answer for them.
Yeah. And it's also it's not necessarily here's a knowledge article, it can collate information from multiple to actually solve the problem. So it could be there's something on the one, a little bit more on another. It's going to put them together into a suggestion that's going to answer it. So it's not that you've got to read one, then read another, or read however many. It's bringing them together.
But I think in terms of obviously the utilisation of them, bringing them to the forefront, helping the user resolve problems, issues, kind of how-tos, whether that's internal, kind of how to deal things, or with kind of customer-facing or supplier-facing or relationship-facing kind of engagements. I think there's still that element of the creation of them, obviously, is still on the customer to do it, and obviously that is an overhead to actually kind of put that structure together, what it is you're creating, who's creating them, who's keeping them updated. But I think Copilot again, with the kind of customer knowledge management agent that we've got now coming through CRM and the customer service side, utilising the case information, for example, and helping create some of those articles for us, even as a starting point. I think right now, I've tried it on a few, okay, but you're certainly not going to just click save automatically and you've got your finished knowledge base article.
No, it is getting better. It's something that we had a little look at this morning, that you used to always have a feature on the case to convert to knowledge base. But it was literally, it would take the title of your case and call that the title of the knowledge base, and then you had to fill it in. But there's now a feature that we've managed to get working this morning, where you can put a tick in the case resolution box that actually says suggest knowledge article, and it will almost write it for you. So it gives you obviously the title, issue, resolution, any pointers.
Obviously, what it generates is limited by what you input.
Yes.
So if you've got lots of detail in your case description, lots of detail in your case resolution, and you've got activities and portal comments and all of this kind of thing, it can use all of that to generate the content for you. If your resolution is problem solved, your knowledge base article isn't going to be very descriptive.
Understood.
So, but the introduction of that Copilot agent takes away a lot of that overhead for the customer, which now makes the knowledge base and building the knowledge base a more viable option for more customers.
In fact, it's not really writing the article, you're just reviewing what Copilot's done.
And rewriting it and potentially adding a few screenshots in. And
I think in terms of kind of, I think as well now with the use of Power Pages and either your self-service portals or just your front-end page, exposing that articles out,
even just as frequently asked questions,
as FAQs, all of a sudden an organisation is probably building that anyway. If you've got CRM and you've got those, well, expose them out and you maintain them in one place opposed to maintain them over in your web platform over here, and then you also get asked it as a question as well back in a customer service angle as well, and you don't have that article, that answer preset, but you've got it over here. That doesn't make sense. But obviously the other thing with knowledge base articles is you can point them at different sources as well.
So the other thing as well to bear in mind is that obviously we've talked about the Power Pages and the portals and the self-service, but we've also got the bots and the chat bots and the agents and all of this other AI coming through, and that also wants data sources to search. So if you start building a knowledge base up now, by the time you get to the point where you've got agents that are pointing at all of these different data sources, your knowledge base is another one of those sources. And it's a data source that you've created. It's not you going and searching the internet. It's specific for your organisation, so it's specific to your customers and their needs, but also specific to your users and their needs. So, it's obviously better than a Bing search.
But it does also highlight the need to review your data. So obviously, if we're writing knowledge articles that we have internally at Tecman, which are dealing with technology, obviously some of that technology expires. Copilot doesn't know that. If you've got an active knowledge base on there talking about something that's outdated, it also provides that sort of requirement on the customer to make sure that your knowledge base is actually accurate. So,
well, a good example of that would be, I wrote an article probably 3 years ago about configuring the integration for Business Central. That's changed significantly.
It has.
So it's a constant review as well of that data and what it looks like and making sure that it is accurate, like you say.
Cool. Okay, so that's feature 1, KBAs, knowledge base articles. If you're not using them, why not? I guess is the summary.
Now's the time.
Number 2, competitors. So competitors been there for ever since I can remember. Obviously, in its crudest form, it's just a table with links into ultimately opportunities at heart and leads at heart. And in its most basic form, you can tag against obviously opportunities you win, lose, and you can do a bit of a SWOT analysis against kind of what they can do, how you compete against them, good or bad. So, but importantly, you can't use it to professional level licensing, which is just ridiculous. Badly thought out from Microsoft in that respect. There's other features that they can differentiate between the licenses, but even at kind of enterprise and above level, competitors, I think we get the yeah. Well, yeah, that's a useful thing. We can use that.
It was always a nice idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't a practical solution.
Yeah, I think you turn it on and go, I can just, here's how to use it out the box. I tag somebody's name, or I tag another product or a brand. Okay, I've got that, and I've got a little bit of insight. But yeah, I think it then becomes a meh kind of feeling realistically. Whereas if you think about it, you can probably do so much more with competitors.
So the change and the utilisation of competitors, again, is born out of Copilot. So
yeah,
it's more, you can now go to Copilot and say, who do I win all my deals against? Or who do I lose all my deals against? And Copilot will go and it will search all your opportunities and all of your competitors, and it will say, you've lost so many opportunities to this competitor, you've won this many against this competitor. So it'll give you a good analysis of how you're actually doing against your competition. Whereas before you couldn't really do that. Well,
I suppose you could take the record as long as you tagged it, and you could then filter your data down, etc. But the reality is salespeople or management, for salespeople or management just want to ask the question, because that's who directors, senior management team, they're asking the question to the sales kind of commercial team and saying, who we're losing against, who we compete against the most. Yeah. And then you go into if you just say, here's the agent that points at that data already, and as long as the users are completing the data to the right level, then you're getting the information back. Obviously, my little agent from CRM Connect kind of highlighted the potential for it. But I also think in terms of competitors, it's don't just think about it on an opportunity, on a lead. Think about going where you go to speak to a customer and they're probably using a competitor and you, or have the ability for. Ask them the question. Link to who else do they get from? Who else do they buy from? Link that just against the account record. Put information against that. Build up that knowledge in part of your engagements with your customers and your prospects. Not just who else have you got a quote off this time for this? And you just use it over here. You can make that information far much more rich, in my opinion.
But yeah, so competitors is another good example, similar to the knowledge base, where it was always a little bit not quite there, something wasn't quite ready. But now that you've got all of this AI that controls through all of that data,
it's a record.
Yeah. It's still just a record, but it's now a record that's got a use.
But it's what you do with it, it's how you work with it kind of scenario.
Yeah, and like you've touched on, with the research agent that's coming in, it will do that. It will trawl through those competitor records as well as all of the other information it's going to go through.
Yeah.
And it's going to highlight, we always lose to this competitor, so you're more likely to lose that deal than you are this one because we always win against this competitor. Yeah. So it can be used for that prioritisation as well.
Because going back a few years, if you hadn't written the business intelligence to pull that data, you just have this big block of data that was actually quite difficult to analyse. But now with Copilot doing it, it's always a sell to a salesperson, right? Why should I enter this data? Yeah. It's like, well, because we'd like it. It's like, but it was of no use to anyone unless you put the effort in. Now it actually can start to be of use.
Back to the thing of going, salespeople, why am I filling this information? It's only because you can watch what I'm doing.
Yeah.
No, it's not about that. It's a case of, well, what do I get out of it? Well, this is what you're starting to get out of it. It's a case of the data is being presented in better ways these days. You can slice and dice your data. You can get suggestions, but also you can interrogate your system better from the data that you're putting into it, because you might not know who you competed against previously on how many times you've really competed against X competitor in the last 12 months. But the idea is that you sit there just go, how many times, how many have I competed against, etc. Or sort of the agent will start to give you that information back. When was the last time I, as a salesperson, lost to company X? Yeah. What was the deal and what was the reason why we lost to them? Opposed to trying to find all that data, which isn't the easy. The reason codes isn't always the easiest for an end user to find on a specific deal. You can ask the agent to go and do it for you.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, comes down to data. Obviously, it needs to be complete. It needs to be accurate.
Yeah.
But now the agents are making it easier to do that analysis.
Okay. Number 3, queues. Sales queue, customer service queue.
Any kind of queue.
What queue?
Can be anything. I mean, we use queues at Tecman. It's very much been for cases, so that people can see the cases they've got assigned to them. because we're now starting to push the knowledge base forward.
Yeah.
We're now going to start having queues for support operatives to review their knowledge bases. So there'll be things, new one to write, cases to look at. Again, it's just that list of work things that I have to do that goes across every single table and isn't specific. Because previously we used cases in terms of owners, and so you looked at my cases. But now the fact we're using queues, you're not necessarily just limited to cases, and you then haven't got to flick through table after table after table to see what my work is.
Yeah.
You can see everything all in one place. That's
your waiting list.
Effectively,
yeah. Basically, yes. It's like your work list, yeah. So they're traditionally linked to mailboxes. That's how people have generally used them. An email will come into a queue. Something will happen with that email, depending on obviously what kind of queue it is. But we've had customers that have had queues, emails have come into the queues and they've automatically created opportunities, and then the opportunities replace the email in the queue. And then they've used that to just distribute their workload to their sales team. Obviously, we use it, emails come into the queue, converts to cases, and then we use that to distribute to our customer service team, our support team, not our customer service team. And then, like John says, you can start to add other records into there, so you can actually enable pretty much any record for a queue.
Good.
So, but it's a good way to organise your teams, especially if you've got pools of people that are working potentially even on the same records, but specifically through like a pool of work. So, like a support desk where, you've got different cases come in and you need to assign them out. It's a good way to do that without having to manually go through and be like, oh, what's such and such got on? Because you can just see what they've got in the queue waiting.
So I think in terms of queues, it's one of those where it goes, as you say, it goes past think beyond the mailbox. Think beyond you work to list, you list it. Obviously, you've got your activities pane that shows all your activities, your phone calls, your tasks, all that kind of stuff that you've got to look at. But then look at it as what's my day job? What am I doing? Kind of scenario from that perspective. So that's a good way to think of kind of utilising queues.
Yeah, the reason that we highlighted queues for this is because obviously we've recently learned that we're moving more towards customer service workspace because they're getting rid of the customer service hub. So the customer service workspace is built on the idea of similarly to the sales hub now, where you've got the Sales Accelerator work list. You've got a work item list in the customer service workspace, and that comes from queue items. So if you've got all of your stuff in a queue item, then it prioritises that work list for you, and you can just go into it, and you've got the side pane so you can work on your item, and you can just work through your queue that way. So just starting to think about implementing queues now is going to make that function easier when the customer service hub goes away and you've got no choice.
Yeah, agreed. Okay. Number 4, telephone integration.
Yes.
So, this is always a funny one for me because the amount of conversations that we have going, can I link to my phone system? Can I have screen popping? Yeah. We talk about it in pre-sale, and then it always seems to be one of those features that gets kind of pushed a little bit for priority. Not necessarily cost in terms of setup, because most of them do what they do kind of scenario. But then sometimes it's what they actually do and what phone system it is as well. So, but I think telephone integration, I think I've seen a bit more of a trend since the start of this year about wanting to integrate. Can I integrate my phone system? Whereas it probably went quiet for a little while, which was a bit odd considering everybody was remote.
Yeah.
Kind of the whole kind of COVID pandemic world, everyone's remote, need to talk to people, Teams, phone calls constantly. And then it still wasn't loads. And then literally, as people starting to see a bit more each other face to face in kind of the past 6 months or so, we've probably had a bit of a surge of, got telephone integration to my CRM system, please. So, yeah.
It might be because of that, though, because obviously people working remotely, they didn't necessarily have the phone system. So, potentially phone calls are being forwarded to mobile phones and things like that, because traditionally, even if you've got a VoIP system, you've still got a phone system with handsets on your desks in your office, and the software's on your desktop computer that you're working at.
Yeah, not very many people used to use just the client that was on their laptop or their PC.
No, so
use the traditional handset.
Potentially that's why the conversation started again. But like I say, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because we have no control over this software. So we are very much, we are just an API that this software is calling. So people say to us, oh, can you integrate our phone system? And it's like, maybe, probably. Your phone system probably does integrate to Dynamics. Most things do. But then it's always the onus is on the customer and potentially the customer's telephony provider. To sort that out, and really all we can do is provide the access key with the app registration and the client secret for them to connect into, because we don't have access to that software, so we can't do that configuration for them. So I think as well, that's a lot of where that momentum dies, because we push them to do it, like you say, in pre-sale, and then we have the workshops and we're like, yeah, no problem, we can do that, but the onus to do it is on you. And then they're like, oh, we've got to do something.
Yeah, I think then going to the phone people and go, yeah, we've got something. Yeah. And then they say, yeah, we can integrate. And then it comes back going, this is what we do. We need this. And then this is how it works. And they go, oh, that's how it works. Don't get me wrong. There's some tools out there, some solutions out there that work with Dynamics and other CRM systems that are better than others. And then there are some that get you a bit like going, is that all it does? That's not really going to add us that much value. So it's kind of, what's your phone system and what do you want it to do? I think obviously with the Dynamics 365 contact center type tools and the voice recognition, you can get kind of CRM to be that kind of help manage your kind of routines in. It can help do kind of voice, click 1 for, click 2 for. It can take over some of the rules of your traditional telephony, but obviously you can truly integrate it. You have a button that says who's calling, open it, etc. And that's linking to what's contact center voice, which can be an add-on to customer service as well. But that ultimately we're still having to connect that phone system, whatever that phone system is, to Azure communication services, to then that routes into CRM. So there's still a middle bit that's needed, whereas others have got their own, the 8x8s, the 3CXs, there's Ring Central, there's another tool that integrates to the tools too as well. So there's tools out there and solution installs, etc. But there's also gotchas along the way. It's like some solutions install straight away, some have a bit more manual work to them. And then some have, well, I need the browser open all the time with CRM for it to work. Well, if people are tapping away at other things and they don't looking at that browser, they're down for a second screen, it doesn't work as well either. But I think there is an acknowledgement that the request is coming back more and more at the moment. I definitely think so. I think, and if your phone system has got an option, or contact center routing voice is an option for you, then yeah, absolutely, it's a conversation to have.
Especially if you're using Teams, because that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, obviously Teams telephony from that perspective, yeah, you've still got to connect it through Azure communication services, but absolutely. See, the standard Microsoft Teams dialer is a bit meh kind of scenario. It's
works,
okay.
Though.
Yeah, it does work. It's granted it works, but you'd want it to be a bit more feature rich. But then against it, they're going, well, that's why you've got contact center voice. Yeah. So Microsoft aren't going to give you all that out of the box when they can make some more money off their licenses over here kind of scenario.
No, but with this team stuff as well, you have now got the conversation intelligence.
Yeah, obviously you've got a level of that as enterprise, unless you need to upgrade your license from that perspective. But yeah,
depends on how many phone calls you take.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're a call centre or you're doing a lot of calls, cold calling,
then you're going to want the extra licenses.
You'll run out of whatever it is minutes, or you're allowed. It'll evaluate for you very, very quickly. Yeah. But yeah, telephone integration number 4. So I think that's an ongoing conversation with a few customers for sure.
Yeah. And I think finally a couple of other legacy activities of fax and letter. I think you'll be waiting a long time to get those integrated.
I'm still surprised it still says fax out of the box, if I'm being brutally honest, from Microsoft.
Someone actually asked me about the letter not that long ago. They were like, we send out mailings. I was like, really?
To be fair,
send out letters?
Tecman, obviously we send out letters in terms of our mouse mats that we do annually from that perspective. But prior to kind of 2020 event, we used to send out really colourful kind of mailers for our events and things like that. And they did used to work. They really, really did. But now you've got hybrid work and you don't know who's going to be in the office and when and stuff like that. It doesn't work anywhere near as much these days. Obviously, sending out samples or mailers, if you're B2C, I get it. I get it more from a mailer, letter.
If you need to physically
either,
send something, then you need to put a nice cover letter on it. Then
obviously,
absolutely.
Letter, inverted commas, letter. B2B, I think less so these days, more than anything. But yeah, fax.
that might be a long forgotten feature.
Yeah.
I can't see that coming on the next one.
Yeah. So final one, convert to functions is on the list, number 5 of 5. So, who wants to cover convert to and why?
So I'll start. So the convert to function is it's a bit of a strange one. It's really, really useful in really, really specific circumstances. So you've got an activity, so you've got an email that comes in, or you've had an appointment or a phone call, any activity really you can use it on, and then you can literally just click convert to, and it will convert it to a lead, an opportunity, or a case, depending on obviously what you need it to do.
Yeah.
Which is really useful. Yeah. It takes the body of the email, sticks it into the description box. You've got all that information from the email.
Yeah.
How useful is that? That's like really, really useful. And the amount of people that you speak to that are just regular CRM users and they just don't know it does it. They're like, I've got to create all these leads from all these emails, and it's like, convert to.
Yeah.
And job done.
Yeah.
It's probably the most underutilised button in the entirety of the CRM system, in my opinion.
Finishing on the convert to then, that's most underutilised. Okay. John, anything to add?
Not really. I've just done a project where we're looking at converting emails to cases, and it's underused because I didn't even think about it. So I'm going to go and review it quickly.
Yeah, but that's the point, isn't it? I mean, it's the amount of people that you go into that are established CRM users, and they're like, oh yeah, I've got to copy and paste this into my case, and it's like, why are you doing that?
Yeah. And I think there's some wise people. We walk sometimes into projects and processes and things like that. We want to be so clever. We want to go, do this automatically in this kind of way, etc. And then sometimes going, well, that button there with one click of a button, that's what it does something for us that can also work for us. And sometimes it's take a step back from some of the shiny new stuff that we keep getting with AI and agents and stuff like that. Go, actually, there's some pretty damn good features that have been there for a very long time in CRM it's still there for a reason, and we should be looking to utilise it where needed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, so 5 features overlooked from a CRM perspective. I think that's kind of key ones. I think I've learned and refreshed myself a little bit throughout kind of this discussion. I think from our side of the fence, we've got more education that we could do on these areas as well, in different ways. I think for those that have been kind of listening and watching the podcast, thank you very much again. And hopefully those features, if you're not utilising them now, you will be soon. Or if you utilise them a little bit, you're going to push on a little bit further with them. And so thanks John, thanks Kelly.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for those listening and watching for another episode of Tecman Talks Dynamics. We'll see you again soon.